Using a sheet of graph paper, I drew out a slingshot shape in which I desired. Once that was complete, I photocopied it twice. I cut out one of the sheets and adhered it to a sheet of aluminum with a glue stick. Once that was dry, I used a drill press to go around the entire circumference. And when that was done, I was able to cut and pry until it was able to be hollowed out. Using a blue G10 liner 1 millimeter thick, I used the other two pieces of the template, adhered it, and used a pair of scissors to cut it out. I then used a 2-part epoxy and adhered them to the aluminum, making sure that everything was clean and scuffed up with 220 grit sandpaper. I used the epoxy, adhered it all together, and clamped it. After about 12 to 24 hours, I removed the clamps. Here I had to do it twice because I didn't have time to do it all at once, so I had to do one side, and once that was complete, I did the other side. When I had both sides on, I used a bandsaw to cut out a lot of the excess G10 liners from the aluminum template. Now this stuff is extremely messy, so you definitely want to wear a mask and vacuum your tools because the dust is extremely fine. As well, a lot of small pieces of debris can get stuck where they shouldn't be, as you will see in this upcoming clip. And the last thing you want to do is damage your tools, so keep everything clean. Once that was done and I was able to fix it all up, I continued to move forward by cutting off the excess blue G10 liners. You also kind of want to make sure that you don't get too close to the aluminum because this stuff is really easy to sand, but the aluminum is not. So if you do nick it with your blades or your drills or whatever tools you're using, it takes a long time to sand it out of the aluminum. So once that was complete, I took it to a sander, and this is a bit of a fancy sander. If you're just making one frame, you can use sandpaper and a sanding block if you really want. It's very easy to sand the G10. I then used the 2-part epoxy to adhere a scale on it, and with this one I used a sheet of multi-layered carbon fiber. And once that was dry, I used the bandsaw to remove the excess pieces. I think it was about a 1/4 inch thick, so it took a little bit longer to cut out, and it did look really good. I was very happy with this material. It's very messy to sand too though, but I guess that's some of the prices you pay, right? It pays to be beautiful. So moving forward, I sanded it down until it was close to the aluminum, and then I had to repeat the process. Now this is me working at nighttime, so yes, I do make this stuff day and night sometimes. Here I am using the epoxy to adhere the other side of carbon fiber onto the blue G10. This night mode here will be over within a second, so just bear with it, please. So there it is, clamped up, and we have daylight again. So everything is dry after 12 to 24 hours, and I removed the clamp. So you notice once again that I didn't have time to do it all at once, so I had to do it each side a different day. Once that was done, I cut it out. I guess doing it this process, it does make it a little easier on the blades and tools rather than cutting it all at once, as I don't have a really big bandsaw. So I cut out the carbon fiber, excess carbon fiber, and I took it to a table sander, as I had a lot of little nicks in it from the bandsaw blade. So I wanted to make sure a lot of those were removed and not have to hand sand it. I was happy with where it was going, so I continued to sand the shape down until it fit nicely in my hand. I could have left it where it was at, but I just figured might as well make it comfortable. After which I used a drill press to make some holes in it. I did a lanyard hole and a couple of holes for some tube attachment in the forks. So here's some really fun pictures of the lanyard hole. And then once that was done, I used some old gloves, which I guess it covered some of my fingers, so it was better than having to wash my entire hand. But I used a piece of copper tube to put into the lanyard hole, which I hope it sticks in the long run, but if it falls out, it's still going to be okay. And then I started with 220 grit and started to work my way up to about 2000 grit, but then I had changed my mind because I was going to put a palm swell on it, but that would mean I would need to knock out some pins, and that might loosen the scales and liners, so I changed my mind on that as well. There's the palm swell piece I was going to use. So this right here is where I wish I would have left it and just stopped sanding it all together, because I thought it looked smoking hot. Unfortunately, I didn't, and I ended up with a bit of a mess of a frame, but I guess you can't win them all. I will be going back to this frame eventually to further sand it and shine it up and stuff, but I do shoot it quite a bit now, so that's the carbon fiber black, right? So it's orange and brown, and it's black too, but it's because it's carbon fiber, it comes out black. So that's what I mean about wearing a dust mask and a lot of safety equipment. So here it is, pretty well finished, and I put some, here's the band slots that I put in it too as well, because I used a microfile to make the band slots, and an easier slot attachment so I can attach tubes in it too. Yeah, so it was a really fun project. I used some sandpaper in the crevices just to make sure nothing was sharp and gonna ruin my bands. Very fun project. And I'll get back to finishing it eventually, but for now I call it my unfinished slingshot. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.